All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this session. I was just talking to one of you to get a glimpse of what exactly is happening in the course. I don't see a lot of students today. Not sure what the reason is because tomorrow is quiz. So, I was hoping students to join and get their doubts clarified. Okay. So, in today's session, I was planning to give a quick brief of what we have covered so far in week up to week 4, right? So, currently, we will be ending week 5 and next week we'll go into week 6, but as far as the quiz syllabus is concerned, it's only weeks 1 to 4, right? So I just wanted to give a brief at least on the topics, at least the name of topics that are required or you need to know when you go to quiz. Okay, so that was the idea. Apart from that, if you have any queries regarding the course, any particular concept that you want me to explain, or any question, then I can go through it. All right. So I'll just share my screen and start. Okay. So I hope my screen is visible. Is this font visible?
So
Visible font?
little bit if you can zoom in. Yeah, that was it.
Okay. The problem is I cannot zoom this part, but let's see if I can do the MD part. I can show you. Okay. Is this fine?
Yes, sir. This is better, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. So the rendered part I cannot zoom. This is the preview. I cannot zoom that, but this is fine. All right. So basically, as I said, quiz one syllabus is weeks 1 to 4. All right. And these are the topics that you have to look at when you are preparing for the questions, right? So all the questions that come in quiz one or even in end term exams with respect to first 4 weeks will circulate around these topics, right? So when it goes to starting with week one, right? So week one is where we introduce JavaScript for the very first time in the course, right? And there are things like JavaScript basics, primitives, and data types. All right. So what are the primitives that you need to know? And so it goes very similar to how we learn any programming language, right? But there are certain things that we have to look at. So, for example, what is undefined, what is null, and what is null, right? So, what is the difference between these three, and in what occasions we get these three things, right? So, that has to be very clearly understood. Then there are data types, right? So, JavaScript is dynamically typed, right? So, the moment you declare a variable and give a value to it, depending on the type of value, it will take the value, right? So, you don't have to explicitly mention whether you're saving or storing an integer or a float or anything else, right? So you have to just mention, that is, just declare the variable with the help of these declarations, which is called as keywords. Okay, so these are keywords used to declare a variable, let const and var. We have seen so many questions in this. And the moment you declare a variable and give it a value, so if it is a number, by default, it will, or by Excel, it will take the data type as number. All right. And then, so same for the string and other things. All right. Then you need to understand the scoping of variables and how variables are scoped when they are declared with let constant var. Okay. So scoping of variable is important. Then we'll come across DOM API. So something called as document dot, right? So this is used for document object document DOM manipulation. So this is, I mean, everything that you see on the screen is basically a DOM, right? So every HTML file can be, not like can be, it has its own DOM. And to be able to manipulate that DOM, to be able to change that DOM programmatically, we use something called as DOM manipulation. Okay, that process is called DOM manipulation. And there is this API called a document API that allows us to make that changes, right? So when you write document and then it has multiple methods defined, right? So the moment you write document and then you have multiple methods, this is used to make changes to the document, right? Then there are other two important data types. Sorry, one other important data type is the object. All right. So it is basically a data structure. Also, you can call it a data structure because it is used to store and organize data in a certain manner. Right. Objects are very important when it comes to JavaScript. All right. So when you create an object, it is very similar to how you create a dictionary in Python. Right. But then there are additional functionalities and multiple ways of referencing that objects. Right. So in a Python dictionary, it is just to store data and reference it. That's all. But in JavaScript object, you can not only store data, but you can access one property from the other property, right? And you can also store functions. You can also store methods in objects. All right. So that makes it very useful when it comes to creating the code. Right. So whenever you go ahead and uh, probably write a front end code, right, with the help of only JavaScript, it is very helpful creating objects. Right. So your code becomes very neat and becomes very accessible. All right. And then there are multiple properties of objects. Okay, so we have seen that in the contents of week one. All right, so these are the important things that you need to note. And these definitions of these and fundamentals of these will be utilized in other weeks also. Okay, when it comes to JavaScript. Okay, in week two, we did what exactly is DOM manipulation. So we didn't go into a lot of details because it is not as such required while you're studying JavaScript. When it is only introduced, you don't need to worry about how DOM manipulation is done, in its details. But this is something that you can do on your own also. The only thing that you need to understand is this document. All right, and then there are multiple properties attached to it. Okay. Then in week two, then we saw this objects and arrays in details, right? So the another data structure that we work with is the arrays. All right. So we see objects and arrays in quite detail in week two, right? So how you create an object, how you create methods in object, how do you access those methods in an object. All right. Then in arrays, then there are array methods, okay, and function methods. Okay, so if you create an array, what methods will apply to that array? Things like map, filter, reduce, find, and there are functions that the function methods meaning, or you can also say it object methods, right? So this, what do you mean by this? So this methods apply, call, and bind will apply to functions that are created as properties in objects. Okay, what do I mean by that? So let's say you create an object, and within an object, any one function or method is one of its properties. So these methods, right, apply, call, and bind will apply to those properties. Okay, so you need to understand what these things do. Okay, then there is something called as object API. Okay, object API is used to access the keys and values of an object in the form of arrays. Okay, so basically there is an object. Okay, maybe I can write somewhere and show you. So this is the code that I wanted to share because this will have all the questions of mock, right? So this has all the questions of mock written in the form of code. So you can all not only try these out, but make some small changes here and see what how the output changes. Okay, so that is one thing. Yeah. So what I was talking about is the object API, right? So for example, if I create an object, let obj equals to, okay, so you have let's say a colon animal, right? So you create this object like this, and this is something anything, right? So blogs, anything. So let's say this is an object. All right. Now, if you want to explicitly access the keys and values of this object, you can write object dot keys. So there are three methods defined in this object API. So like this, you need to provide object dot keys, and you simply provide what object keys you want. Okay. So what do you get in return? You get an array that has all the keys. So it will be like this: A, B. All right. So this is what I was talking about, right? So you refer to an object and then you retrieve either its keys or its values in the form of an array. All right. So don't worry about this. This is just representation. Okay. Same thing. If I want to get the values, I'll simply write object dot values. Okay. Object dot values, and this will give me the values. Like this. Okay. There is also something called as object dot entries. Okay. So object dot entries, and then you provide object. Okay, so when you get object dot, when you want to see object dot entries, it basically give you an object itself. All right, so you won't be able to physically represent it here, but then this is used to actually iterate over the entire object, right? So let's say if I want to iterate over the entire object, I can write for, let's say, key val of, and then this. Right? So when I write something like this, then it will allow me to iterate over the entries of object in the form of this. Right? So you get key as well as value separately. Okay. So for each loop, you will be having key and value of this object. Right? So a and animal. A will key will store a and value will store animal, like that. So basically methods helps you to iterate over the object and to be able to access its keys and values explicitly. All right. So these are some methods that the object API provides directly. So you don't have to, iterate over and retrieve out the keys, iterate over, retrieve out the values. Okay. So that is about the object API. Okay. And then there is this, bad spelling. So this is basically destructuring. All right. So destructuring applies both to object and so basically, we see mostly for object destructuring of an object. Okay, so what is destructuring? Destructuring is like splitting the object and spreading the object. All right, so destructuring helps us to access a particular value of an object directly through the object. All right, so for example, if I have the same object here, animal and dogs, right? So for example, if I write something like this, let, and then I just write a variable, something like this, a equals to obj. All right. So any issue. Okay, maybe it was defined. Okay, this is the issue. Can just comment this up. Okay, so what is happening here? Let A written in parentheses, and then I provide it with the object. What do I get? This A will try to find out if there is any key with the name A, and then the value of that will be stored here. So let's say if I try to log this, if I try to do console.log A, I will directly get animal. Okay, so this is what is called as a tree structuring. So there is this entire structure of the object, and you are trying to retrieve a value like this. Okay, this is one way. There are other various simple ways of directly accessing the values. You can simply write something like this: console.log, and then simply object.a, right? Object.a. That's all. Okay, but this helps us to destructure and access particular values only. Okay, so let's say this object has only two values, but let's say if I have hundreds of values in object and I want to create or I want to retrieve only few of them, I can just write an object like this and then retrieve the value. Okay, is there any hands raised? I'm not able to see. Yeah, go ahead.
So in the 356 line numbers, 356, I think, 362, sorry. 362 line number, that has to be different variable name, right? Or it has to be same, like a property, that property, this has to be same.
No, no, it can be anything. I mean, either you put this or you can put new. Okay, not an issue.
Okay, okay.
See, the thing is, for example, if you simply put this, all right, if you simply put A, then it will look for the exact key, all right. But let's say if I want to, give a new name to my object, so you can write something like this, A, then capital A, all right. So this, what will this do? This will assign the value of. It will first find this key A and then assign the value as to that as A. So now your key has changed, all right. If you simply do this, let's say if you simply do this, it will not understand what key to take, right? Which property to take. Not
Got it.
like this, sorry, like this. So if you directly say A, this object will not understand, okay, which key are you talking about? Okay, but if you exactly mention the key, then it will take the value from there because this key matches with any existing key, right? Now, once
Got it.
this key is assigned, what you can do is just do this to give it a new key. Okay.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any query? Okay. Okay. So
Uh,
these are the things.
destructuring of array. So can we skip the middle elements? Let's say there are five and we want to take first and last.
No, that will be difficult. I mean, I'm not saying it cannot be done, but then it does not directly give you the values, right? You cannot use directly this and take this, right? So you'll have to do some manipulations, a few lines of code, and then you will be able to take, right? In case of
Okay.
array, if you're doing that, then it is better to, index it. Okay, so you
Hmm.
take some indexes, then you add, take another indexes, and then you add them together. All right, so you have to do some manipulations there. Directly, it won't give.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I was here, right? Iterations and destructuring. Then there is this prototype. So prototype is basically a way of a way of creating an super object of an existing object, right? So for example, I'll give you. So for example, again, I'll take the same object and I have new object here. Let obj2 equals to a new object, right? So it has this key C colon, let's say cat. Okay, it has this C colon cat, but I also want the entire elements of the original object to come here. So what will I write? Something like this. Proto A. Sorry, not A, obj. Okay, so what is going to happen here? You will this object two will have the entire your original object as well as the new elements. Okay, like this. So if you want to, let's say, if I do something like this, obj2 dot a, it will give me the value animal. Okay, because now this has become a part of its or a subset of this larger object. Okay, so this is what is called as prototypes. All right, then we have functions. Functions are very important. So you see the scoping of function, then what are normal functions, what are arrow functions, how are functions defined in classes, okay, how are functions defined within objects. So these objects are basically from the um, uh,
Sir,
objected, sorry.
sir, is there difference between proto and super?
Yeah. So proto is a concept of an object, all right. Super is a concept of inheritance in OOP, right? Object-oriented programming. So you are basically inheriting the, for example, if you create a class and you have created another class and you are inheriting the properties of a class, then you'll use super. Okay, so this is very specific to a class-based programming. All right, whereas proto is very specific to object. Okay, now this object is not a object-oriented programming object, right? This object is a data structure object that we often see in JavaScript. Okay, so
Okay.
these two things are different. All right, so here this object basically refers to that OOP object, right? So I'll just also write in.
Even in OBJ2, OBJ things A and B also will be accessed, na, sir? We can.
Yeah, that's what I said, right? obj2.a because this has now become a prototype of it.
Okay.
Okay. So this is very specific to an object, data structure object, this proto, whereas the super is specific to the class-based programming, right? Class-based objects and things. Okay, getter and setter methods. Okay, getter and setter methods are both valid for classes as well as objects, right? So if I can also create a get method and set method. Set, okay, and then it will act as a function. I just have to give a comma here. All right, set, and then you can just write get name, something like this, any name, anything, any function. It will act like a function, very similar to how function is there. All right, and so these are getters. Then you have set. All right, not sorry. Okay, get. Okay, these are setters. These are get. Sorry, I'll have to write something like this. Right, set name, get name, and then it returns something. All right, so these getters and setters are a part of, can be a part of objects also, and within the class also you can write a getter and setter methods. All
This
right.
getter and setter have this functional overloading in them, right? Like they can have both have same name of the function.
Yeah. Right. That is good. Okay, but we don't generally go into a lot of details of the object-oriented programming. We just want you to know, okay, how do you create a class? How do you create objects of the class, and then you inherit. That's all, right? We don't want to go into a lot of details of this. Okay, and then there is this very important thing called as this keyword, right? So this keyword helps you to access other properties of a single object, right? So I just have an example of this. This is one of the mock questions, right? Yeah, right. So if you see this, not sure if this is a mock question, but anyways. So if you see this, what is happening here? There is object called A, all right, and it has two properties. One is x1 and one is func1. X1 is a simple variable that stores number 10, whereas func1 is basically a property that stores a function. All right. Now, what I'm trying to do here within the function, I'm trying to access other properties of that same object, right? X1, right? So simply X1 will not do. Simply x1 will not do unless and until x1 is defined within the function, something like this. Okay, so this is fine because this x1, and obviously you can see this is a function scope. So you can explicitly create new variables with the same name. That's okay. This is a variable which I've created in line number 6, whereas in line number 4, it is the property of the object, right? So as long as these two things are different, this is fine. Okay, I can access this. I can always get 20 as answer, right? But let's say if I want to access one of the properties of the same object where this function is residing, simply writing x1 will not make sense. I'll have to tell from where do I want this x1, right? So I cannot write something like this, obj dot x1. Sorry, not obj, a dot x1, right? Why is it capital? A dot x1. Why is that? Because again, the object it cannot be, it cannot re-reference itself. If you want to do that, then there is this special keyword called this, right? So let's say if when I write this dot x1, okay, it will try to get the object from the same function, properties from the same function, not object, sorry. All right. And this can also be seen like this. So let's say the moment I remove this, note the line number 6, right? So you see the x1 here. This x1 is currently fainted, right? It's not bright. But the moment I remove this, it becomes, dark. It becomes bright. So what do I mean? What do we come to see, or what do we get to know from here? That when I write simply x1, it is trying to fetch the variable. Okay. If it is not defined, obviously it will throw error. But if it is defined somewhere within the function scope, it will take the variable, right? But this is not the x1 that I'm looking at. I'm looking at a property of x1. Suppose then how do I access it? I use this keyword and then access it. Okay, so this keyword is basically used to reference the properties of the same object within the function of the same object. All right, so that is the this keyword. All right, now coming to the week 3 and week 4, this is completely view, right? So for weeks 1 and 2, we will talk about basics of JavaScript, but when it comes to week 3 and week 4, we will introduce view. All right. In the content we have, in the content meaning the content that is shared with you, that content gets released over the weeks. We have done the coding and everything. All the lectures are recorded on View 2. So we will do the coding and explanation on View 2 only. And at the same time, the questions in Quiz 1 will also be based on View 2 only. All right. We'll not be asking you questions on View 3. But when it comes to project, you can decide what you want to use it, whether you want to use View 2, View 3, and the type of coding you want to do, right? But when it comes to quiz, we will be sticking to View 2 only and the way of coding of View 2. All right. So week 3 we did what basics. What are the basics of View? How do you create a View instance using CDN? All right. And obviously in week 3 we just only did the CDN, but there are other ways like CLI and all which we will see in future. All right, then we'll try to understand what are view directives, right? What view bind is, what is v on, what is v if, v for, v show, etc. Right. So anything that starts with v hyphen is called as view directive, and it has some specific functionalities that it attends to, right? So these specific functionalities are there to help us to create that interactivity or that reactive nature of the framework, right? So we talk about this things, right? The view is reactive. So how exactly it becomes reactive? How does it make sure that change in the state changes the UI? That is because of these directives. Okay, so the moment these directives are changed, the way you manipulate these directives will help you to create the view object, and will help you to react, and that view object will react to your change in state. All right. Then there are specific properties that are defined for a view object. Now, why am I saying properties? Because the view basically has options object, right? So let me just go to that part. So let's say if I want to create a new view object, right? So let's say const app equals to new view. All right. And what do you basically put between this parenthesis is basically an object. All right. So this object is therefore called as options object. Okay. So I hope this is covered in your actual view lecture, but this is called as an options object. Now forget about options. The second term it means is object. This means everything that I create within this object are going to be properties, right? So let's say, for example, it has EL property, right? It has template property. It has a data property. Okay. Then there are other things like computed methods, quarters. All right. So why are these called properties? Because they are written within an object in the form of an object, right? So this looks like an object. So if you remove this, if you just explicitly look at this structure, it is nothing but an object. Okay, you can simply write it like this, like this, right? So it is no different from a regular object. The moment you put it inside this parenthesis, it becomes a view options object. All right. Now, why is it called as options? One thing to note here, all these properties are defined. You cannot create your own, right? You cannot create your own property here and like this and, start writing the values of it. Okay. So this cannot be the way, okay, cannot be done. Okay. Why? Because all the properties of an options objects have to be defined properties, which are already set by view. All right. So it can be the ones that I've written already here and the ones written here, right? Computed methods, watchers. Okay, and these are sufficient to create a well and good application. You don't need to create your own. Okay, that is the reason it is called as. Okay, so that is one thing. Okay, that you need to understand that these properties that I'm writing are defined. All right. At the same time, all of these properties are not required, right? So you can see there is EL template data. Okay, whereas I have not created computed methods and objects. Okay, only these three things are there, and I can create a simple application with the help of this also. Okay, I will add or I'll keep on adding new properties as and when I require them. All right. So what can we infer from this? That all the properties of an options object are not mandatory. You don't need to have all of them. Okay. For example, the CL is mandatory. Okay, you can just leave this aside because obviously you need to load your view application somewhere. All right. Even that is not mandatory when you write a different way of coding. But okay, let's not go into that. So you can see that not all the properties that you're creating in this options are mandatory. That is the reason the first word comes, right? Options object. Okay, so it gives you options. It is optional, and depending on what you're trying to do, you will have that property. Okay, every property has a very specific functionality, right? Computed properties, methods, watchers. We have a very specific functionalities, and you will use them for a very specific purpose. Okay, why so many rules? Because you are actually trying to create a view application, right? You're not doing any random coding in JavaScript. Had it been a simple JavaScript, you could have written anything you want, create any object, create any functions, define how the functions is created, right? It is up to you. But when it comes to a framework, there are certain, rules that you have to follow while creating a object, right? Unless and until you follow these rules, your application will have some of the other error, all right? Some of the other um, uh, problems. All right, we don't want to do that. Our objective is very focused here. I want to create an application that does certain things. All right, so you have to be very specific with the way it is created. Okay, yeah, somebody raised hand, please go ahead.
So this template is normally this of components, right? Is it a part of view instance also?
Which one exactly?
Template.
Component. Yeah. It can be. You don't have to
Okay.
exactly put it here. That's what I said, right? It does not matter if you put it. Does not matter if you remove it. Okay. Yes.
Because it
As
will be mounted to a div ID, which is like highlighted as app. So in this
right.
case, if we add a template, then what which will get displayed? Like how will it get displayed?
No.
Because
So
I've
see
seen this
this.
template, this in only in a component, basically, not
Yeah, I understand. Okay, let me clarify that. Firstly, template and EL2, these are two different things. Template by any means does not say that you are going to mount here, okay, or there. It is the role of EL that tells you where to mount. Okay, what does template do? It will tell you once the application is mounted what to render. Okay, so let's say I also have an index.html here. Before I open that, let me just make some changes here. So for example, we have EL. Okay, let's say I'll write hash app. Okay, I hope you know this hash app. All right. And for now, I do not mention anything in the template. All right. And in the data, there is an empty object. I need to give commas, commas here. All right. And obviously this property is not there. So I'll just comment it. Okay. Okay. So this is my application. Okay. Let's say we'll also write name or something like this. Key. Well, all right. So it has one data property. It has template. For now, there is nothing written here. And then there is this app. Okay, so with this current state of this application, and obviously you'll have to provide here view. All right. So with this current state of application, what is happening? What information can you infer? Firstly, from the EL, the information that I can infer is it will go to the HTML. This application will go to an HTML and look for an element div ID app. Okay, it will look for an element which has ID div, app. Okay, that is the only purpose of this EL. That is the only purpose of this EL. Okay, so once it identifies, okay, where I need to get mounted, the location where the application gets mounted, the purpose of EL is done. The work of EL is done. All right. Then generally what you may have seen is this. Okay, so let's say if I write hello view. Okay, so what needs to be shown within the application once the application is loaded is written here. Okay, so let me also write it in H1. Okay, so what you're doing here is the application that you're mounting here will apply to this particular block of div, all right, and which has ID app. And whatever, once this gets loaded, whatever is the content, whatever is the HTML part of this div will load there. Okay, this is what you have seen. But let's say if I don't want to clutter my HTML, okay, I don't want to clutter my HTML, I can do this. I can just remove everything from here and put it here in template. It will work the same way. All right. It is in the complete view application. In the actual view application, you have options whether to put your HTML content here within this div or within the template. Okay, you have the options. Generally,
But
you will see that the content is put here.
but sir, it cannot be put in both places, right? Then there will be conflict, correct?
If it is different, then there won't be any conflict. But if it is placed on both the places, then we'll have to check. I think the it will be replaced by the template here. Whatever is content of the template will be replaced by that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, we'll have to check. I'm not sure, but this is what I feel will happen. Okay, but the thing is, the idea is to either decide where. See, firstly, you want once my application gets loaded, what content to show on the screen, right? So, how do you show it? Either you add that content within this element itself, all right, or you add that content within the template. Okay, because you have options to decide whether you want to add here or you want to add in template. Okay, in case of component, you don't have that option, right? In case of component, you have to explicitly see why are you creating component, because you need to create a piece of block that can be repeatably used, right? So you need to explicitly mention what will get rendered. That is the reason you generally see template in itself in the view object. I mean, in the definition of component. Okay.
Okay, sir.
But in case of component, you don't, because why? Because let's say if I have a component, right? Something like this, my hyphen component. The whole idea of creating component was a piece of code block should get rendered when I write this component, just one element, right? What is the point if you are writing the code again and again here, right? That is the reason we define the template within the definition of component itself, so that I just have to write it here. But in case of application, you have options. Okay, so I'm repeating the same thing, but I hope you got the idea.
Yes, sir. Got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, anybody else
Well,
also had this?
yes, I was.
Yeah, Himachal.
So this view object, in this view object, we can directly access the property inside these defined properties, these options properties. So like if I have a in data, so I can say directly view object dot a and it will access. And same for methods also.
Hmm.
Is it correct?
See, generally you will not do that because there is no point of doing that, right? But you can always see the way this view object is created, because this is actually this, right? You actually are creating an object of a view class. Okay,
Hmm.
so generally what you would do is, let's say if I write app dot, okay, app dot uh, anything,
Yes.
app dot variable, let's say app dot
Hmm.
variable equals to, let's say if I write 10. What is going to happen with this? This variable will be added as a data property here.
Data property. Okay.
Okay, and the value will be 10. Okay, so that is the only thing you can do. Okay, Everything else, for example, if I simply write app.el, okay, please note that this app is not an object. It is a instance of view. Okay.
Hmm.
If I want to access particularly EL, then I can just write view obj.el. But okay, I can access it like this. But does it make sense? No. At this point, it will give you hash app because unless and until I put this view object within this parenthesis, this is a
Hmm.
simple object for me, and this application, this hash app is just a string for me. Okay, so when I write view object.el, it will give me the value hash app. Okay, it will give me that. But when this entire thing comes together as a view application, it does not make sense to retrieve hash app, right?
Okay.
Okay, the
So,
only
if
thing, yeah, tell me.
why I ask, because when we put this inside the methods of
Hmm.
this method property, it refers to view object, I guess.
View object
Am I right?
meaning
This
this.
view object, like what you put inside here at line number 389, this object is created app. Now, if I have a method inside method property that is
Hmm.
using this, so that this will be referring to app.
Yeah. It will do that. This will refer to view object. But see, the thing is, whenever why do we use this if in terms of a general object? Why do you
Hmm.
use this to access the other properties of the object, right?
Other.
So
Yes.
that this will never refer to this data property, right? So for example, if you're writing a method, what will you
Hmm.
do in method? You will manipulate some of the data properties only. Okay, but when you
I
use
think
this, it will never help you to manipulate data property only. Then what is the point, right?
wait, I think it does, because we can access in the method. I can say this dot key. I can get that. So that key will be here. Okay, this dot variable will be present.
I understand, but yeah, that's the there. But okay, I'm saying
Hmm.
that's
Method.
methods. Yeah, but then it is
And
very important to note how you're creating the function, right? How you're creating the method, right? So for example, if you write my func,
hmm,
okay, and okay,
my function statement type. Hmm.
my func, yes. Here, if you let's say if you write return this dot key, it will be accessing this data property only.
Yes. Can
Yeah.
it access other functions also? Like, can I call other method which is defined in this method from this method? Let's say there is my func2 also. Can I call it
I think
from
so. You
this?
can do that. I think so. You can do that.
So all the properties are accessible directly from the view object.
Yes, you can say that.
Oh.
Yes.
Hmm. And one more thing, sir, when a small doubt that this inside arrow function, what it refers to,
Inside arrow function, it will still refer to the global properties. You won't be able to access the methods and all.
like not
Okay.
here, but inside, in one of the sessions of yours, I watched maybe I just 2 3 terms before.
Okay.
You were saying something like it will refer to the enclosed scope of the function or something.
That is outside, right? So, for example, this we are talking with respect to view, right?
Yeah,
We'll
no,
not do that in case of view, but in case of a normal object, right? So, for example, let us create a normal. Okay, let's say at the top we have this object, right? So,
hmm,
in this function, this is a normal function. Let's say within this normal function, if I create a if I create an arrow function, okay,
hmm,
let arrow function
hmm,
equals to uh, something like this. Okay, and then let's see, write console.log
this.
this dot x1. Right. So let's say if you do this, what is going to happen? This arrow function is
Hmm.
firstly you need to note that this arrow function is basically within the scope of a normal function. All right.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
since this is within the scope of normal function, it is never going to refer to the global this. All right. And for a normal function, what is this referring to? The actual object where it resides. right? So this is how you can change the scope of an arrow function to the actual object other than the global object if it is residing inside a normal function, right? So
Oh.
you will see cases where there is normal function used, you will see cases where there is arrow function used, but the definition of how a normal function behaves will remain the same, right? Whenever I say irrespective of what is written inside, okay, irrespective of that, whenever I create a normal function, if I want to use this anywhere within the scope of this normal function, it will refer to the parent object where this function resides. All right.
Mm.
Now it does not matter what is written inside, whether it is an arrow function directly or it is simply a log statement you are using.
Mhm.
That this here will always refer to the property of that function only because it is written within the scope of normal function. So the
Okay.
entire scope of this gets disturbed here. Okay. It
Hmm.
will no longer refer to the global this.
Okay. So it takes the this of the enclosing function
Yes, yes.
in
Including.
arrow. Hmm. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. All right. So we'll go to the content again. All right, and then there is view instance nesting. There is one question also in the mock. Okay, let me know if you can solve it. So there is one view instance nesting. Generally, don't use it. This is only for the understanding. But see, the whole point of using view is to create an application. You don't want to nest two applications together because you anyway won't be able to load them together, right? So it has to be every component that you create, every the view object that you create should be there to create one and only one application that is running on front end. Okay, you don't create multiple application, but it is just for the understanding and concept that there is possibility of nesting two view instances. Okay, and there is one question also somewhere on the top, one of your mock questions. You can check that. Yeah, this one, right? So you see question number 6. So you can see const new value app1, then there is new value, new view app1, new view app2, two view applications. And in the index.html, you see how they are mounting, right? So there is this app1, then there is this app2. Okay, very impractical thing because you don't generally see that when you create a view application. But when you are understanding view, it is important to note how things are working. All right, so there is this view nesting. Okay, then in week 4, we covered basics of components, right? So how do you create a component? How do you register component? What do you mean by register? For example, I have a entire view application at my disposal, right? So let's say I have this entire application which I've created here. Okay, this entire view application I've created here and line number from here to here. Okay, now how will this view application know that this component is a part of this application only? Okay, there are multiple components created. How will it know that this component, whatever components I've created, component A, component B, whatever they are created, are a part of this original view application, right? So we need to explicitly register components. Okay, so these registration is what is called as this ability to make components familiar to the original view object or original view application is what is called as registering of component. All right, and then there are ways of registering it. So one is the local registration and one is the global registration. Okay, probably till this point we have seen global registration. So let's say whenever you write view dot component, okay, view dot component, and within this you will first you will provide the name of the component, right? So let's say same thing, my hyphen com, and followed by the another options object that is very specific to the component itself, right? So this is called as global registration. Okay, you don't have to explicitly mention this as a part of view object. All right, but what is then local registration? Local registration will require you to explicitly mention what are the components. So it will be used by explicit property of the view object, right? So not here, sorry, like this. Okay, so what you will do here is you will just create a new object here. For example, object 2. Assume that this is a view component, although it is not. Assume that it is a view component. What will you do? You'll write something like this: components. Okay, and then what you want to name this component as my hyphen com. And what should be the definition of that component? What is the definition? Obj2.
Obj2. So
Obj.
components are also properties of view object, view object.
Yes, yes. It is a defined property.
Okay.
Okay, but again, options you don't need to always mention it. All right, so this is now what is happening here. Whenever you mention components, okay, explicitly within this view, what is happening here? this view object2 component is registered to this view obj, okay, or this view application, and only to this view application, right? It is not globally defined. So it is locally getting registered to this view object. Therefore, it is called as local registration. All right. If you simply write view.component, here you have not mentioned what view application I'm going inside. No. So this is global registration. This will be valid to other view applications also. Right. So for example, if you happen to create a new view application here, this component can be used inside that also. All right. That is the reason we are calling it global registration. But now when I explicitly mention components within the options object of my application, then it becomes a local because this object to becomes specific to that view application. Okay, that is the reason we have these two types of registration, global and local. All right.
So that
Then there is data and components. Yeah.
line number 402, it should be V capital, right? View,
V capital.
like we created using V capital also in line number 400. I
Maybe. I'm
think.
not sure about the syntax. Okay, I'm using it very long after a long time. I'm not
Mhm.
sure. You have to check it. Okay. View dot component. Uh,
Okay, sir, no problem.
we think why? Because see, it does not mean that we are referring to this. Okay. When I
No, but
write
it's
capital
the
V,
same constructor. We are that view is using this constructor method to create the object.
mhm,
So I think that same variable will also have the component constructor also.
maybe just check it. Okay, check the documentation. Sure. Okay, let us check. We'll go from here. View components to view. Generally, they now use view 3. So we'll have to go to view components registration, right?
Yes,
Yeah, view
capital.
dot component, capital. All
Same
right.
same variable is used. Okay.
All right. View dot component. So this is the capital V. Okay, view dot component. Yeah, I using this syntax for a very after a very long time, so missed out. Okay, let us go to next thing. Yeah, data and components. Now, why have we explicitly mentioned data and components? Because the way you create data property in components is slightly different. Okay, why is that? See, so in the normal view, in the normal view application, simply an application, not the component and stuff. What I did, I just created this data and then followed by an object. Okay, that is storing various data properties. All right, so this is a data and it is an object. Okay, but let's say if I want to create a component like here, if I want to create a component, the data here is basically not an object. Okay, the value of data is not an object, but it is a function that is returning an object. Okay, so something like this function. Okay, and then it returns the same object. Same, not the same object, whatever is the data of this component, right? So if let's say if I write data one, and so on. Okay. So if you are creating a data property within a component, it has to be returned as a function. I mean, the properties actually have to be returned as a return of a function. All right. But when you are creating a simple view application, it can be a simple object. All right. So that is the difference. Why is this difference created? Because we want this data property to be returned only when the component is mounted. Okay. When the app is mounted, okay, everything has to be loaded at once. All right. But when a component is mounted, it is not only, it is possible that multiple components are mounting together, right? Why exactly are you creating component? To reuse the code, right? So whenever you are using it into the index.html, you will use it like this multiple times. Okay. And all these components, although they are created similarly, will represent individual component, an independent component. If it is an independent component, the data of that component also should be independent. Changing of data in one component does not change data in other component, right? And that is the reason we cannot directly render components as object. We have to return it as a function. So what will happen? The moment the entire component gets loaded, it gets returned as a function. It comes out as a return of a function. Okay. So basically, simply put, in case of component, in case of application, you're doing it only once, right? So the entire app data will be loaded or mounted only once. But in case of component, you're doing it, obviously you're creating components to reuse the code. So you tend to create it multiple times. And what do you want to do? You want to make sure that the data of one component does not change or alter the data of another component. That is the reason we return component as function. Okay, return of a function. There is a difference. Okay, then there are other important properties. One is props. Okay, then there is emit, and then there is finally lifecycle hooks. All right. So what are props basically? Props are okay. Let me go here and tell you. Props of a component are basically like you will try to relate it with an HTML component. Okay. For example, if I create an HTML element div. Okay. Fine. Let us do it in HTML index.html. So for example, if I create a div element. Okay. And note that this div element has this attribute called ID. Okay, name it anything, name, and has a value. Okay, okay, it has this property called ID. Okay, and it has a value called hello. All right. Now, what is a component? Okay, what is a component? It is basically acting like a HTML element. It is acting like an HTML element, right? If it is acting like an HTML element, it might also have some predefined properties. It might also have a place to provide content, right? So for example, if I'm use this my component here, okay, don't worry about the location, whether they are within the app or not. We are not loading it. I'm just giving you for the demonstration, right? So for example, this is my component. But if you look at it from the HTML point of view, this is also another element of HTML, right? If it is another element of an HTML, will it have an attribute? And will that attribute have a value? Is it possible? Right? It is very much possible, right? And can it have a content? Yes, it can have a content, right? Now, my HTML know that, okay, ID is a defined attribute of my div element. But here, since this component, HTML, what will HTML understand from this? Okay, there is an element called my component and it has an attribute called attr, whose value is value. Okay, HTML understand this much. Okay, but will my component have anything to do with this, or will my component understand, okay, what is this attr? No, we have to define it, right? We have to explicitly define it. So that is what is defined here, right? So for example, where is our component? Here. Okay, so in order to make sure that my component makes some meaning of that attr provided, it has to be provided as props. Okay, so you have to write props here, and then it is basically a list, and then it can have attr. All right, unless and until you do this. Okay. Oh, sorry, wrong place. Here. All right. So unless and until you write this, the component, my component will not be able to make any sense of what you have written here. Okay, it will not be able to make any sense of what you have written here. All right. Now, once you mention this attr as props, what do you mean? That, okay, my component has one of the properties called attr. Whatever I'm providing value can be used and work with inside the component. Okay, it can be used and work with. So this component can also have a template, right? So I'm creating this template so that I can tell you how attr can be used, right? So let's see if I write h1, h1, and simply if I want to print whatever value is getting there, I can simply write this h1. All right. So what is attr now? This attr is, since it is defined as a props, I can provide it through HTML. So I can provide it through an HTML, right? So once I create this component and provide this attr, whatever value I provide here will get inside the component and can be used within. Okay, here I've simply used it within the template, but you can also use it within some methods or make use of it, right? So a props, defining a props property in the component is a way to define an existing HTML property here for the my component element. Okay, I hope you are trying to connect it, right? So basically, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to make sense of the attributes provided into the component as HTML element. Okay, within a component, whenever it is used an HTML element, if I provide something as a attribute and value, how does the component internally processes it will be done from this line. Okay, so that is props. In other words, props are a way of providing some inputs to the component through attributes, right? Props are a way to provide some value to the component through attributes. Okay, whatever you are writing within the angle brackets are all called as attributes. Okay, whatever you are writing within the angle bracket are called all attributes. Okay, are all called attributes. Whatever you are writing within this, the ending and starting of the tag is called as content. Okay, so this information is being provided to the element through attribute. How does the element process it internally will be done through props. Okay, this is how you take it. What you have to do of that value then later it is up to you. Okay, so that's how you register props. Then there is emit. Okay, what is emit? It is the opposite of props. Okay, what is it is the opposite of props. What is happening here? I'm providing value, some information through the to the component through attribute. What if I want to retrieve some information through the component and put it on the main thing? So this retrieval is what is called as emit. Okay, to be able to retrieve some information when the component is loaded, then you see emit. Okay, so I won't see a lot of questions on emit because it is a tedious concept to create a question on. Okay, it takes a time. It takes not only time but it takes a lot of space. So you don't want to create a question that is too space taking, because you also have to solve a question within some time. Right, so it is very important when it comes to creating project. Okay, it will help you unless and until you are using state management. If you are planning to not use state management, emit is a way to emit and props together will help you to send or receive data from the component and within the component. Okay, so props is used to send data from parent to child component, right? And emit is used to retrieve data from child component to the parent component. Okay, so that is the reason these are written together. Then there are life cycle loops. Okay, so life cycle loops basically help you to trigger certain functionalities or trigger some actions at certain stage of the life of a component, right? So a component starts from being creating to mounting, okay, to updating, okay, and getting destroyed, right? Destroyed. Okay, so a component is getting created, then it is getting mounted, then it is getting updated, and then it is getting destroyed. Okay, so what happens before it is creating is one stage, right? So if you want to trigger something right before it is created, it is one stage. If you want to trigger something right after it is created, it is one stage, one thing. If you want to trigger something right before it is mounted, it is one stage, right? Similarly, if you do right after mounting, it is one stage, and same thing goes on. And with these stages, you have created some hooks, right? So what are the hooks you have created? Before create, before create, created, okay, then before mount, mounted. Let me write with the same thing they are used, okay. And generally, we don't see updating. Then we'll see before destroy. I might have to check this and then destroy. Okay, why am I saying I have to check this? Because we generally don't do anything with these hooks. The most hooks that most of the time, the major hook that you'll use is this mounted. Okay, because you want to do something, you want to trigger something once the entire component is loaded and all the data properties are fetched. Okay, that is the right time to trigger something automatically. Okay, the most important hook that you will see is the mounted. Most important, okay, and very frequently used. That is the reason it is important. Okay, so while we see that there are various stages through which a component goes, right from the point right before it is creating to all the way till after it is after it is destroyed. Okay, so there are various stages that a component goes through. If you want to trigger something, you just have to trigger, write that functionality in a particular hook at a particular stage. All right. And as I said, from the development point of view, what you will mostly do is use the mounted hook. Okay. Now, what is the difference between created and mounted? Created hook will, or created is the stage where the component is ready, okay, but it is not loaded yet. Okay, and mounted is the stage where the component is ready. All the data properties of the components are ready, and it is now mounted on the application. You can see it on the screen. Okay, so this is the difference. Okay, so what is the difference? Actual difference between created and mounted? Everything is created. At this point, the data properties are not present. Okay, we do not have access, or the application will not have access to the data properties. But after the mounted, sorry, after the mounted, it will have access to the data properties. This is the only difference, and it is a very key difference. Because let's say if I want to trigger something that uses existing data of the component, I will do it with mounted, not with created. Okay, so that is the difference. And they are written in the same order the life cycle happens, right? Before create, created; before bound, mounted; before destroyed, destroyed. Okay, there is also updating and all, but really does not matter. Okay, so these are the life cycle rules. Okay, any doubt till this point? So these are the major topics where majority of the questions come. All right, there will be one or two questions out of these topic, and I don't even remember last time when we have asked those. Whatever mentioned, whatever topics are mentioned here, mostly the entire quiz one content and ET content of first 4 weeks will come across these topics. Okay, so you'll have to look at these topics, questions on these topics. You might also have access to previous question papers, and that will be sufficient. All right, any question till this point? Yeah, go ahead, Preeti.
The life cycle hooks are in week 5, na, sir. I mean, because I had asked, I think Aditya sir last session, he said it won't be in quiz 1.
Okay, let me check. So we have the mock, right? I mean, this front end is there. Okay, components, uses. Okay, so week 4 only does the component part. We have life cycle in, yeah. Okay, it is in week 5. No, no, okay, you can ignore it, safely ignore it. Right?
But I'm just asking because no questions will come from life cycle hooks, right?
No,
That's
no,
what
no,
is
no.
problem.
Then it won't. Then they won't.
Because in the previous question papers, I think one or two places I've seen random questions.
No, no. I think in I'm not sure now that you have mentioned. I think in one of the places we had asked questions on details of components and slots also in quiz one, and turns out we had to give marks to all because it was out of syllabus. All right. So if life cycle hooks, like you have mentioned, it is not coming in week 4. We also seen here they're not coming in week 4. You won't see questions on that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I think then all right. Let me. I'll have to cover change this. Remove this one. Okay. Then I'll cover this in week 5. I think this was created when we're done with quiz 2 also. So maybe because of that confusion, maybe I've added it. But okay, nice that you got to understand this. Right. That's all I can say. Even if no question comes, you'll be able to solve it.
So Krishna sir has already started addressing it, but I thought it was part of week 5 and hence he has started like that. I thought, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, so I see as far as the content is mentioned, it does not have life cycle. So definitely there won't be any question. Okay. That, yeah. Himanshu?
Sir, these template property, is this replaces the content of the mounted tag?
That we have to check. That's what I said. I mean, when I was explaining this template part, we'll have to check. Let's say if you give the content to both, right? Will it replace? I think so. It should replace.
Okay. And sir, can you just check one question? I have shared the link. Can you open that? In this question number 14, and you question
Question number
number 14.
14. Hmm.
Yeah. So this
Hmm.
slots. So like this is this content replacement because this question is here.
Hmm.
So is this part of week 1 to 4? slots and slots.
Yeah, I think probably this is the question I was talking about, right? So there where we mentioned slot and everything, but then it turns out that it is not a part of week 1 to 4. So we have covered that in the week 5 and 6, I think so, and that's why. What I mean, what term this paper is? Any idea?
This written
February.
here,
So this is
Feb.
Jantam, right?
Yeah,
This seems to be
Jantam.
Jantam. So that's what. So in as I said, right, in last term or in
Hmm.
last to last term, there were 1 or 2 questions that came out of week 5 or
Hmm.
week
Hmm.
6. So we had to remove it,
Hmm.
right? But now coming to the solution of this, so there are see, for example, why exactly are we having this slot? Okay, so
Hmm.
this is to answer the second question I was talking here, right? So this is how we provide props, right? This is if I want to provide data through attributes of an element, HTML tag, I'll give it as props, right? But let's say if I want to provide content, okay, if I
Hmm.
mention a content of the element, where does it go and sit? All right,
Hmm.
because this component is basically having its own HTML to render, right? So where does it
Hmm.
sit? So this actually goes and sit to the slot type, right? So for example, we'll go to that question. All right. So in the application, what do I have? I have a component. And if you see this entire thing, H3, exploring
Hmm.
Vue.js, template, vslot, ongoing, exactly both of these two things are basically content of my comp, right? They are content, right? Now the thing is, I have two things, exploring JS, and then there is template. Okay.
Hmm.
For now, you ignore the template part and only focus on these two things. One is H3 that says exploring Vue.js, and the other H3 says learning app dev 2. So
Okay.
will both come? Will any one of them come? If any one of them come, which one comes? Right? If both
Hmm.
comes, how will they come? Whether learning app dev 2 comes on the top or exploring Vue.js come on the top is what the question is all about, right? So now that the answer to these questions, what will come where, will be dependent on how the template is created. Okay.
Hmm.
So if I want to specifically place one thing at one place, I have to name that slot, and that naming is done with the help of template tag. So you see this template v slot ongoing. Okay. So what does that mean? You go to the content or you go to the template of the component. Wherever you
Hmm.
see ongoing, you place this content there like that.
Okay.
Okay.
So on
So,
going. Okay.
right. So you
Uh.
see slot name ongoing. This means what is going to happen. And if there is nothing mentioned, it will be present as it is. Right.
Hmm.
So this is the actual content of, even if I mentioned it within the slots, this is a part of template, right? So this learn DBMS will at anyway come, and we have explicitly mentioned in the in the template definition, if it is on the top, it should come on the top, right? So
Hmm.
first learn DBMS will come as it is. Okay.
Hmm.
Then there is ongoing. So what is going to happen? Learning app dev 2, the content of this learning app dev 2 will be placed wherever this ongoing is, right? Okay, and that is the thing. Then slot says exploring front end. Okay, so this exploring front end will be replaced by exploring Vue.js. Why? Because this slot is unnamed and this content is unnamed. If I want to name this, I will have to encompass it into a template tag, right? So what is
Okay.
going to happen? Learn DBMS should come, all right,
Hmm.
and then ongoing will this ongoing in place of ongoing learning app dev 2 should come. All right.
Hmm.
And then this slot should be replaced by the actual content, exploring Vue.js, because
Okay.
this is the definition you have created before. And this is when you are using it at the current time, right?
Hmm.
So that should be the
Okay.
answer accordingly. Learn DBMS, learning app dev 2 and exploring Vue.js should be the answer.
Yeah, sir, it's correct. Sir, but what if there are more than one unnamed element?
More than one
Unnamed.
unnamed. Okay, let us think about it. What more than one unnamed? So what are you trying to say is slot and then slot again, right?
Yeah, slot is slot again, and maybe one more S3 in the HTML file.
One more HT and HTML5.
Hmm.
So that is C. So remove that confusion, only we have this template, right?
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say, so see, what if you have one more S3 here, this
Hmm.
entire, why are you looking at it element by element? The entire thing that is not within the template is a single content. Did you get what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay. So it's whether inside or it's not. Okay.
Yeah. So if you mention it twice here, and if you mention slot twice here, what should happen? Tell me.
So that entire content of what's not inside, so those two S3 content will repeat twice because of two
Twice.
slots.
Yeah. So at all, what you'll have exploring Vue.js 4 times.
Yes, sir.
Right. So see, you don't, firstly, why I during the explanation, why did I take S3 separately? Because that was the only thing outside the template part, right?
Hmm.
If we had multiple things outside the template part, we don't have to, consider them single piece. We don't have to consider them separate things, right? They are
It's
not
like
separated
a
by
default
elements.
case. It's like a default case in like
Yes.
batch
Yeah.
cases. So it's
Right.
default.
So the entire content which is unnamed will be taken as a single component or single
Hmm.
part and will be
Hmm.
placed wherever there are unnamed slot. If
Hmm.
the unnamed slot is coming multiple times, it will also
Hmm.
come multiple times. The entire
Multiple.
thing will be.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, sir.
I
Yeah.
think there was
Thank
a question on this also. I'm not sure which term. There was a
you.
question on this also. So you see that there is two things here, two things there, and at the end result, you see 4 times things are getting rendered. Not sure which term. Uh,
Yes.
So, based on the same question, so ultimately the one in the JS file, whatever is there in the template, will get rendered, right? Like, but then I thought the third option is the correct answer. Like,
No, no.
how the
See, this is the
exploring,
definition. This is the definition. This is how you define. Okay.
but how is
And
exploring Vue.js coming, sir? Because exploring front end should come in the end, right?
no, no, no. Exploring front end is there. It will come if you do not provide anything here. Okay. See, you tell me what comes later. I mean, meaning of that is you define the application first and the usage comes later, right? So when you provide some content outside, that outside content, when it goes to the template, it should replace the existing content.
Okay,
Right? This is the definition. This is the usage. So whenever you use it,
okay,
that is the most recent content, right?
okay, okay, sir.
Okay.
So it actually it runs the HTML file first and then the JS. Is that the reason why it's like that? Or the
Hmm.
So it
slot
actually
itself has been
runs.
defined?
It actually loads the application first, that is script.js. So if you, let's say, remove this S3, right? If you remove this S3 momentarily, you will see that exploring front end has actually come, but then it was replaced by exploring Vue.js.
Hmm.
Okay, okay, sir, got it.
All right. So see, the position will be decided by how things are kept in template. The content will be decided by what you're putting in the HTML.
Hmm.
Okay, this you have to keep in mind.
Got
And
it,
then
sir.
if it is named, the name things, it will look forward in the template and put it there. Only that which is encompassed within the name in the template tag. But if it is not encompassed, as Himanshu said, right? So if nothing, whatever is not encompassed has to be considered as a single information and has to be put wherever there is unnamed slot.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So again, so to put it in a single word or a single sentence, location or position will be decided by how template is created because this is the definition. I want this here, this here, this here. Okay. What should come will be defined by what content you are putting into the component. Okay. For example, if I remove this S3, okay, if I remove this S3, what is going to happen? The slot complete will have learn DBMS, ongoing will be replaced by learning AppDev2, and exploring frontend will come as it is. There was
So
nothing to replace it from the main content.
so one question. So if the HTML file, there is a say this saying that H3 at the end of learning after the template, like learning app dev 2 template, after the
Hmm.
closing tag, if it has like an H3 and a slot inside, then it will come.
Hmm.
Then exploring front end will come, right?
Okay, can you repeat this once? Let me catch it up.
Like after the template tag in the HTML.
After the
Uh,
template tag in HTML.
yeah, if we have an H3 and inside the H3 there is a slot, an empty slot, then exploring front end will go there, right?
See, the thing is, empty slots. See, slot is like a placeholder. Okay, you're saying with the help of slot, you're saying I want whatever is dumped into the HTML tag, whatever is the content of the HTML tag, that should come here. So you are defining it. Where the thing should come. So if you're defining something, can you write it while using it? Can you write slot anywhere here? Slot has to be mentioned within the template only. I mean, the
Okay,
template tag of
got it,
your switch only,
got it, got it, got it.
right? So slot can come anywhere within the definition, not in the usage. Are you getting this?
Got it, sir, got it.
Hmm.
sir, can you just move up to question number 13 also? There is just a small doubt.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
here this arrow function is in the state computed property, and
Hmm.
here this should be undefined. Like if it is
Hmm.
arrow function, then this uh, will be undefined, right?
This will be undefined. So what is happening here? There is a computed data. Terminal has 3 to 1 and current status is arrived, departed, delayed. These are two different arrays we have. Then there is component which says state computed. And what does it return? The flight 103 has this dot current status 1 from terminal this dot terminal 2. Okay. Current status 1 this dot terminal 2. Okay. All right. So yeah. So what you are saying is this is okay. So let me just say this. So within this arrow function, this would refer to the global, right? So it will not refer to the data property of the application.
Hmm.
So if it does not do that, then the flight 103 has then nothing will be replaced here. From the terminal, nothing will be replaced here. Right. So option D should be the answer.
I think this will be syntax or no type error, because if we are undefined and we're trying to index undefined, then it will be type error. Uh, there, learning mode, you can check the answer. On the left pane, you have that learning mode, exam mode, learning mode.
Hmm.
Yeah, now you can check the individual answers. Check out.
Okay.
So this answer is incorrect because it should be type error, I think, because we are indexing undefined.
Mm, no, but okay. So what you're saying is this dot current, right? So okay. So if you are referring to current status 1 and the current status does not exist, it should be reference error only, right? By type
But
error.
it is no, sir. Like if you have an empty object and you say empty object dot a, it give undefined, not reference error, because object can have like non-existing property with undefined value.
Hmm. But this object or I would say this current status itself does not exist, right?
Still, it will give undefined. You can check. You can just say empty object dot current status.
Hmm.
It will give undefined.
So this entire question you check what does it give?
I think it will give type error. Uh, Preeti ma'am, did we check the yesterday?
Yeah, it
Hello?
was type error. Yeah, it was
Type
type error.
error.
Type error is
Yeah,
it?
type error. Okay. So, okay. So here, because this is arrow function, this undefined thing, right?
Yeah. So this dot current it is coming undefined because it is not referring to the data property. That is the one thing we need to know,
Hmm.
right?
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah. So for some reason, why did I ignore this reference error? Anyway, so there has to be some error that has to be the answer. Now you're saying that it is a type error. I'll have to check and get back. Okay. Not sure.
Okay.
Okay. I simply said this. Okay. Wrong. My bad.
Okay. 4.5 marks gone. Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. Anyways, any
Hmm.
other question?
I haven't done PYQs, so no idea.
Okay. Yeah, so something like this we can expect because you see this is the concept is used not only from Vue but from the very first week, right? So we have been doing this the definition of this from week 1 onwards. But then you can expect questions which have mixed concepts. So it looks like a very direct Vue question, but it is not, right? Yeah. So now coming to the error part, I'll have to check. Not very sure. Okay, so there has to be a proper reasoning. Okay, it simply gives you answer, is it? Okay, no explanation is here. Okay,
No,
we'll
sir.
check and
If you
maybe in one of the
check,
sessions I'll let
like I can show you that, or you can also check. You just open any node or browser console and try
you.
typing empty object dot any property which is not in there. Then it will give you undefined. And if you try indexing undefined, it says type error because that operator is not defined on that property.
Okay. So this dot current status one. This dot current status one. Current status has to be a fine property in
OCR we can do, and
okay. It is
okay, sir, no problem. It's
just try
fine.
this. Okay. But you're trying to say, let me see if that is coming, then it will be better for me to understand, right? At least
Mhm.
everything gone, right? I think this is on the
Yes.
top. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So what you're suggesting is just do this, right? Console dot log. Same thing I'll write here. Current
Uh,
or
Object dot property current empty object maybe.
this dot
Okay, that
current.
is fine.
Okay. Let's say what this logs. It should log undefined, right?
Yes, sir.
Script is there.
Undefined.
So it's logging undefined for now, and
Hmm.
we index it.
Hmm.
It should give us okay type.
Type
This
error.
dot
That
current is
operator
undefined.
is not defined for
Hmm.
undefined.
Can't access property one. This current is undefined.
Hmm.
Okay. So let's see if I do this in the form of statement then. Hello, this is okay. Okay, still shows type error. Okay, so then it has to be type error. Okay. Fine.
Hmm. Yes,
In the
sir.
question, is it in the actual question also? Is it reference error?
It's saying reference error, but reference error is incorrect because
No, no, no,
object
no.
don't reference.
So this question must be taken from one of the PYQs, right? So in the option,
Oh,
these are the actual options. Is it what?
I
Is
didn't
this
check,
this
but
is what I'm asking?
most likely it will be.
Okay. So I'll check the previous groupies from my end. If it is still showing reference error, then I'll have to check change it. All right.
Hmm. I think they are like exams are not very accurate to the errors because uh, like I have seen a few more instances where they mention some error, but it's not
Hmm.
exactly that error. There's some
Okay.
other error.
Okay. Okay. We'll have to check. Now the thing
Hmm.
is, we know why it is showing type error. Okay.
Hmm.
And what exactly is the issue, right? So it has to be type error only. Why exactly we have written reference error or why this question was created like that? Have to check.
Hmm. Oh.
Have you tried this exact question?
Yeah, I like from this quiz practice, I have practiced just this one question, like this one
No, no,
paper
no, no.
only.
What I'm saying is, you have written it, coded it, and seen what has come out as output.
No, I not exactly, but you did it. What I did there, like I just created an empty object and I said dot current what is current status. So
Hmm.
any object behaves the same way. So this when I try to index and it gives me error. Well, I'm
Hmm.
not good at JavaScript that much, but I know Python, and Python handles Python have very sophisticated error system. So it says that if you have an operator and a object, and that object doesn't implement that operator, then it will throw type error. And I think the same thing is happening here also in JavaScript.
Hmm.
This Java, what they call primitives. These primitives don't have many things, and that will cause type error many times.
Okay,
Undefined is
let's try to see a condition where we can recreate the reference error. Yeah, this is undefined. Now it is giving some answer. Current dot, okay, so indexing current to one is still undefined. Does not give reference error anywhere. I do this, and let's say if I do this, should give me hello. This is two now. Yeah, hello. This is two. I remove this, should give me this is undefined. Okay, so in any case, the reference error will not come, right? Okay, we'll have to check this, right? We'll have to
it
correct
gives
this.
undefined for index error also. Okay, you think found.
Yeah, so here, so see what is happening here is,
Hmm.
let's say if I write this
Hmm.
console.log current 3. So if this gives undefined here, it is using the same logic, undefined, right? So that is what is happening. So when I write console.log 3, this means it is trying to access the third index value from this current array. And if it is not there, it will give it undefined. Same thing is happening here because I'm trying to access one. Same thing, one does not exist. So it should give undefined. And that exact value is being put here, right?
Hmm.
So undefined it will not give reference error. Reference error, according to what we have studied, reference error should come only if we do this. Let's say A, right? So we do
Hmm.
not have a variable defined and we are trying to
Variable.
log it.
Hmm. 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 Okay.
This is the only place at this point I can think of where we can get reference error, right? So it has
Okay.
to be defined, all right? And what is happening in our case is our array current is defined, but the value at the third index is not defined or the first index is not defined. So it is like undefined.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And that is what it is showing here. Yeah, so we'll have to then change this reference error to type error.
Hmm.
Okay. Or obviously you cannot do it now for this question, but in future if such questions come, we'll change it to type error. Or in fact, just keep it as error, right, to remove the confusion.
Yes, sir. JavaScript error system is not that good. Like
Hmm.
what I have seen in Python, it's
Hmm.
not that much
Right, right.
evolved. Hmm. Okay, sir.
Okay, anyways. So yeah, good discussion. This is something that we also, keep in mind so that while creating questions or explaining concepts, we bring these things together. So yeah, good. What happened here?
Nothing, sir.
No. I'm just checking the chat.
So this this VS Code file, sir, we will be uploading it to Discourse or how, sir?
Which one? The
This
files
VS
I'm
Code
referring
file,
to.
yes, sir.
This one, I will put it in supplementary content, so you can refer it from here, right?
That would be great, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll put it here, supplementary content, quiz one codes or quiz one files like that. So you'll be able to get it from. Uh, so we do not have that. So whatever sessions we have, solve with instructor, code based sessions, where is that content coming? Where are you getting that content from?
So the TA, whatever they are loading, they are having a GitHub. They have sent a GitHub link, TA
Hmm.
stuff, and that there they are uploading it. But instructor, I don't think we have got any link till yet, as yet. We
No,
don't.
that's not right. This is probably the second session I'm taking, so I didn't check it. Anyway, so I'll see. So in the supplementary content, I'll have solve with an instructor source code file. All right, their meaning. So you should be able to access all the sessions, code-based sessions taken so far. All right, so I'll make sure that that happens. Okay, so same thing for the code that we have discussed and all the commented code here also. This has all the questions of mock, right? So this commented code also, everything that is here, I will put it in the same folder, right? So always instructor source code, you should be able to see here along with the other
Okay,
information.
sir.
Okay.
It will be done right after the session, right, sir?
Yes, in some.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, then I think with that we'll close. Gives you time to,
Uh,
yeah.
Sir, can you suggest like which topics in week 3, 4 are like I can study if I haven't watched week 3, 4 content?
Yeah, this one, right? So I've mentioned this,
Okay,
right?
okay, all these things. Okay.
So I will, same thing. This is content.md. This also will be added there, right?
Hmm. Okay.
So you look at these topics and look for questions in probably last 3 to 4 terms paper also, then it should be okay. You should be able to solve at least most of the questions.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay
Thank
then.
you.
All right. So with that,
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
close.
Yeah.
All right. So
Thank
I
you.
hope this discussion was helpful to you. And okay, best of luck for the quiz one tomorrow. And we'll see you in next week also. Probably next week I'll be taking. So we'll have that
Hmm.
discussion components and all.
Thank you, sir.
Okay then. So we'll close it here. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining and best of luck. So content I'll be adding in the supplementary content. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.